What's up, plant junkies? Jody here for another plant video from plantjunkiecreations.com. I'm going to be going over the basic plant care of this beautiful Thai Constellation Monstera plant, and also give you guys a little bit of information that you might find helpful. So I received this plant sometime last year. It had, I think, a lot of leaves. I can't remember correctly, but I know for sure that this leaf and this leaf are the original leaves. It had a very long stem with a bunch of nodes, and it was my first attempt to try and start propagating the variegated monsteras, and it wasn't my go-to, like it wasn't what I really wanted to do. But when I started digging in the medium, because I received it in a different pot, I noticed there was a lot of root rot, and some which had reached to the stem, and so I needed to save it because I was after this plant for a good price. So I started hacking it, and when I was cutting into the node, I noticed there was a brown spot in the center, which indicates stem rot. So I knew that wasn't going to survive, but I still wanted to try to salvage those nodes. So I remember chopping them, letting them callus, and all of those rotted except for these two leaves that were attached to one node. And what I did was, it had no roots. I had taken this chunky mix and I just set it on top, and I kept it moist near the node but not on the node, so that it would encourage roots to reach out. And that's what worked for this plant, and that's another reason why I chose the terracotta, is because I didn't want that node to rot any more than its other half did. So I kept a very close watch of this plant. This was my baby, and it took a really long time to develop. I noticed that it was trying to establish its roots before putting off a new growth. So this year, this growing season, it has put off 2 new leaves, and here's one of them. I was so excited when I saw this. And if you follow me on Facebook or Instagram, I think I posted that leaf on there. And then this is the new one that just unfurled, I think like yesterday. So I saw it emerging, and she finally opened up and is light in color, and she's just gorgeous. Has a lot of white variegation, not too much, but just the right amount. And so that's that. And then I noticed that she's starting to reach out. Her roots are reaching out, and while making this video, I'm breaking her roots off, which is not good. Before publishing this, I will get that transplant video connected to this so you guys can see the roots and see what's going on with me. The light requirement for this plant will tolerate medium to bright and direct light, but make note that since it has this white variegation on the leaves, that it's going to need more light to photosynthesize. So I would place this plant in a bright and direct light, or about 3 to 6 feet away from a southern or southwest window. So this plant is currently ways away from a grow light and is down low because I wanted to grow up and reach out, as well as I have an east window, a west window, and a southwest window. So it's receiving a lot of that bright and direct light. The soil requirement for this plant needs a well-draining, chunky mix. So right now I have this in a wood-based epiphytic mix, which looks like that. and consists of coconut husk, cocoa core. I notice I have some orchid bark in here and some sphagnum moss, which I try to refrain from, but this has been potted in this pot for a while. And the reason being is because I find that sphagnum moss holds a lot of moisture with a little bit of a thicker mix. Although this is well draining, I just find that sphagnum moss kind of holds on to that moisture too long. So I also have some perlite in there and charcoal as well. The water requirement for this plant really just all depends on the type of pot you're using and what size. So I have this in a 6.5-inch pot, terracotta pot, which has been in here for quite some time. She's ready to be transplanted because I see some roots coming out the bottom there. But in this situation, I water this plant on a 10 to 14 day cycle. Tip to newbies is you want to underwater than overwater. So I will stick my finger in the dirt, and if I feel moisture at my second knuckle, which is about 2 inches, and it's moist on the tip, I do not water. I almost let this plant dry out before watering again. You'll typically want to fertilize 2 times a month during the growing season. So when you see new growth coming, that's a good time to fertilize. And I have options here of fertilizers that I use and rotate between from year to year. So the first one being is I'll combine these two, which is Gringo Rasta Rise Up, which is rooting hormone as well, and I'll combine it with Super Thrive. And every plant really likes a fish and seaweed fertilizer. So this is a hydrolyzed fish seaweed fertilizer from Neptune Harvest. So I rotate between 1 year, and then next season I'll use my fish emulsion, and when I switch this up, I hope this isn't too confusing, I'll use CalMag and iron, liquid iron. So these two are really great for your large leaf foliage. So if you look around your house and you have a plant that's very green, very large leaves, that's the fertilizer to use. Today is the day that I'm going to be repotting my Thai Constellation from a 6-inch pot to an 8-inch deeper pot. I'm going to be reusing my little plastic strainer here to put at the bottom of my pot so the dirt doesn't fall out. And then I also pre-made some Monstera chunky mix, so it looks like this. I'm just letting her drain a little bit before I put her in her spot, but this is what she looks like. Just a beaut. Looks like she belongs in this pot. I forgot to mention that when you're repotting your plant, you don't want to put it in such a large pot, like for example a 6-inch to a 10-inch or a 6-inch to a 12-inch, because you're gonna have to fill that pot up with more soil, and when you're watering it, it's a lot of soil that stays moist for too long, which might lead to root rot. So as a rule of thumb, when you're repotting, you want to go 2 inches up. And so this is a great example from a 6-inch to a 8-inch pot. And I'm sticking with the terracotta because it seems to work really well with the Monsteras. If you enjoyed this video, hit that like button. Also be sure to subscribe to my channel if you enjoy watching plant care videos.